Yahoo Fantasy Football. We're running through the wide receivers, running the gauntlet here, talking a little bit about each of the wide receivers as Yahoo's ranked them, giving you our thoughts on how we think they're going to do this year. We're at Anquan Bolden. Which wide receiver is this now? This is the Anquan Bolden.
You mean what number?
Yeah, how far down are we?
We are at 14.
Okay, so the 14th best wide receiver according to Yahoo. So should probably still be in the range of first or second round picks.
And you know Bolton's going to see action just because, the whole reason the Ravens picked him up was because to get more weapons for Joe Flacco, and he's going to be the center of that.
I do think he does become the centerpiece in the passing game for the Ravens.
Yeah.
I think the Ravens play really well.
He's better. Obviously, they don't want to rely just on Derek Mason.
I wouldn't be concerned with the idea of the Ravens being a run-first offense when it comes to Bolden, because I think Bolden still winds up being open. Bolden is really good at getting you touchdowns, too, so he may not get you a lot of yards like some of these other guys, but he's really good at finding the end zone. My only concern with Bolden is he did seem to be playing with a little bit of cautiousness after he got injured pretty severely last season.
Hopefully the offseason will help with that.
Yeah, and I hope that he comes out with the same fire that he did prior to his injury, but I do worry sometimes about Bolden being the offensive threat necessary for the Ravens.
Since the Ravens are going to the Super Bowl this year, I think he's probably a safe pick.
Yeah, I would definitely not shy away from Bolden.
I think they're going to the Super Bowl. The Giants' Steve Smith. The other Steve Smith.
The other Steve Smith became the Steve Smith last season. He had an excellent year, while Carolina's Steve Smith struggled at times. I do think the Giants are going to be terrible this season, which could hurt Steve Smith's value for you. They have other weapons at wide receiver, too, which I think means, as far as I'm concerned, don't draft Steve Smith this high. Knock him down your wish list a little bit. If he's still out there and you need a good second or third wide receiver, take him then. But I would not take him as your number one guy at wide receiver.
By no means. Here we have Chad Johnson.
They have him as Chad Johnson?
I have him as Chad. I have him as Chad Johnson.
His legal name is Chad Ochocinco, so that's what
yes,
I'm going to go
but
with.
he said,
I watched his excellent performance on Dancing with the Stars. I think he's probably going to get the numbers that he gets every year. He's reliable at that position. The Bengals, as long as Carson Palmer's playing, are going to be a good offensive team. So I wouldn't shy away from Johnson, but make sure you've got some other options at wide receiver too, because if he becomes a head case, the team struggles, or if the backup has to come in. I'm completely drawing a blank on their backup right now, but if Carson Palmer goes down, I think Johnson's numbers get deflated quite a bit. So.
Well, he said that he was going to change his name back to Johnson if Darrelle Revis shut him down during their playoff game with the Jets, which happened, and he's a liar. So I am staying away from Ochocinco.
Because he's a liar.
Because he is Ochocinco, and that's stupid. Hakeem Nicks, one other Giants guy. He also does returns for them, I believe.
He did some last year, yeah. I think Nicks. I think he struggles to find his place in the Giants lineup. He could actually emerge though as the top guy. I think there's so much uncertainty with who will wind up being the top guy in the Giants receiver corps, because they also have Mario Manningham, who showed potentially that he could be a top wide receiver for them too last year. And with me feeling that the Giants are going to struggle, I don't know if I would take a Giants wide receiver, very high in the draft order. I think Steve Smith's breakout season was more of an anomaly, a rarity. We'll go with the word I can't pronounce. Less likely to be repeated. So you might be okay with picking Nicks, but you might not be.
A lot of people like Percy Harvin. We don't, but he's probably a solid option. Another return guy.
I think Percy Harvin's a good option for stats. I think he does better than both Giants wide receivers this year. So I would definitely take him if I didn't hate the Vikings so much.
Yeah. Hines Ward for the Steelers.
Old reliable. This team is going to be playing from behind. Now, they actually made Super Bowl runs doing that, too. So, Ward has some of those games where he's non-existent in the stat sheet, but he also has some games where he catches 2 or 3 touchdowns or long bomb plays late in the game. The problem's going to be, who's his quarterback going to be throughout the season because they're not going to have Roethlisberger to start the year for X number of games, probably 4.
And without Santonio Holmes, Ward is going to be the Steelers' go-to guy, immediately. So
that could
if he
open
wasn't
it up
before,
if you're really looking late in the draft, guys like Mike Wallace for the Steelers, who could be better options with Ward getting double coverage and also getting up there in age, too.
That's true. Michael Crabtree, you don't think he's going anywhere?
Well, I think he's overhyped. I think he was good.
I'm here to tell you what you think.
Thank you.
Yes.
I think he was good last year, but I don't think he has a breakout season because guess who his quarterback is? Alex freaking Smith. I don't think Alex Smith is good enough to make Michael Crabtree the next coming of Jerry Rice. I'm sorry.
Fair enough. Mike Sims-Walker, we talked about a little bit earlier.
He kind of emerged out of the rubble that was the wide receiver group in Jacksonville last season. Jacksonville was going to rely heavily on Torrey Holt last year. Holt was pretty much a bust for a lot of fantasy owners because he didn't score a touchdown, which is kind of a problem. Sims-Walker actually helped a lot of people go deep into the fantasy season and remain contenders because a lot of people picked him up off the waiver wire. The first to react wound up benefiting the most. So Jacksonville has the potential to have a good return at wide receiver because they're going to play from behind a lot.
Yeah.
And they got to open up that passing game to help MJD on the running game side. So Walker's probably a safe bet. I wouldn't take him as your number 1 guy. I would take him as a really solid number 2 wide receiver, though.
That's probably, yeah. I'd say that's about right. Dwayne Bowie?
Dwayne Bowe. If he's not suspended again,
I gotta tell you,
throw to somebody.
Maybe just because he plays for the Chiefs, but when I saw his name on my mock draft list, didn't know who he was.
Did you think of Riddick Bowe? Because I thought
I'd never heard
former
of
crappy boxer Riddick Bowe when I first heard of Dwayne Bowe. But
I thought it's like Dwayne Wade, but a different last name. That's what I thought.
Why is Dwayne Wade available in this fantasy draft? I think Dwayne Bowe is not a safe pick. I would not go with him. I would probably shy away from him. I don't think the Chiefs are going to be a very good team. Bowe's probably going to have some big games, but he's probably going to have a lot of games where he doesn't matter too. So I would probably stay away from Bowe. And he's a head case.
Yeah, that's for sure. Jeremy Maclin, Philadelphia guy who's...
The wide receiver core there is going to struggle to find an identity with a new quarterback. You're probably safe in taking Deshaun Jackson because I think he still gets his numbers. Maybe not as good as last year, but still gets his numbers.
Maclin should do well, though. I think
Macklin's a very talented wide receiver, and I think he should do well. And the offense is probably going to be more reserved with the passing game, which could benefit a guy like Maclin, who's probably going to be open more often than Deshaun Jackson.
I think Macklin's a really safe second or third wide receiver.
Yeah, definitely a third wide receiver. If he's still available and you're looking for a third wide receiver,
get him.
Definitely a pick worth making.
Donald Driver, speaking of picks worth making.
Donald Driver is definitely somebody you should take if he's out there and you're looking for a good number 2, maybe a number 1 option if you've got some other pieces built in already on your team.
Aaron Rodgers,
or you have a plan for your roster. Because Driver always finds a way to get the same numbers that he gets every year. So I think he's a safe pick. The Packers are going to be great on the offensive side. And Driver could still emerge as the number 1 option on the wide receiver. In the wide receiver core for the Packers.
Yeah. And Santana Moss with the Redskins. He's older, but
I think he's ranked higher because he's going to have a good quarterback.
Yeah, he's got McNabb now.
I still don't know how I feel about Santana Moss. I think McNabb could really struggle at quarterback, which would kill Santana Moss's value. But at the same time, if the Redskins really click on the offensive side, Moss is going to be the first to benefit when it comes to the passing game. So definitely take him, but be reserved about where you're taking him in the standings there in the draft, and make sure that you've got other pieces in place.
All right, well, when we return, somebody from the Colts. How's that for a cliffhanger?
Oh, man! Don't go anywhere!